And the next thing that we're going to do is to type some text here. So let's see, from desktop C users A that's plus desktop to data and about 15 seconds. Remaining. So this is our type right here. Let's make it look right. So let's select desktop and make it bold. Let's see. Yes, we have bold. And again make this bold again. Another thing that we need to create is this title here, but before that we're going to create these buttons here. So let's create another solid and let's call it buttons, doesn't matter what core, and let's use some guides. Right here. So let's draw our shape. This is our very basic shape, and we are going to remove this point and make this point linear and put it right here, and we're going to repeat the process and put this point right here and select these 2 points and these 2 points and push them. And again repeat the same boring action to make the rounded shapes. And don't forget to hold down Shift. And that's pretty much our main shape. So let's rename these buttons main. And probably apply layer stroke and make the stroke black and make it 2 pixels. And probably select this and this point and move them like so. And that's the first thing for the buttons. Maybe if we put this outside but make it 1.5 pixels or 1. Well, let's see, at 100%. 1, it looks good to me, so let's keep it 1 and duplicate it, and let's call it red. This is our red button. So draw another shape right here, and let's see, set the mask mode to subtract. And the cool thing about that is it automatically adds a black line here, So let's come to effect, generate ramp, and set our ramp effect. Actually change the order of the ramp like so, and let's see, for the bottom core we want this core, and for the top core we want this core. Let's see how it looks. Close enough, I think. Again, let's try to fake the inner white part with the white inner shadow, which is something that I realize I can do while making this tutorial. In the original example I just made a copy of the layer and created another mask, made the copy white, and just played with the mask expansion and feather to make this effect, but this is 10 times faster way to do it. So I'm really happy that I found this way. And just increase the choke to 30, set the opacity to 65, and this size to 4, for example, and this is pretty good, I think. And let's see. Oh, really cool. And let's type a X symbol there, which needs a stroke, as you can see, and come to layer, gradient overlay, and let's change the gradient color to, let's see, this color, and this to be white, and this is okay. And let's apply a stroke, because obviously the gradient applies over the stroke, so let's apply stroke and change its color and remove the stroke from our main title, and this is how it looks. It's not so bad, I think. And probably apply a, actually I don't know, let's see if we can apply a drop shadow. Come to perspective, drop shadow, and obviously that won't work, so apply a drop shadow from the layer styles menu and set the distance to 0 and set the size to 8, for example, and the opacity to 60. Hopefully this will work. And let's make the rest of the buttons, which are the same core, and this will save us a bit. So let's see, take the ramp, move it right here, and let's choose new cores. For the bottom core we want this core, and for the top core we want this core, which we need to make a bit darker, for example, and it works totally fine. Let's copy the layer styles from the red button and paste this to the other buttons, minimize, so I know what is this button, And by the way, I can make another mask right here, but that won't help me. So let's delete the third mask and just create pretty basic shape, minimize, and let's put it here and draw a rectangle, just a simple rectangle, and come to the X and just copy and paste the layer styles, as you can see, and obviously make the stroke 1 pixel or 1.5, and come to the X and do the same thing. And as I told you, it's a lot of tweaking. And let's duplicate this and call it maximize, and let's see, delete the layer styles, delete the mask, and apply a new mask right here. And just duplicate the mask and make it smaller, for example, like so. And obviously copy the layer styles and paste them, set the inner mask to subtract, and remove the drop shadow effect and make the stroke different color. It's a lot whiter color, as you can see, and probably keep the drop shadow but make it really subtle. So let's set the drop shadow to 25%, 25, and make the stroke a bit darker, like 65%, and let's see, we need to make one more stroke here. So this is our mask tree. Come to effect, generate stroke, and use only mask tree. Set the hardness to 100%, and let's see, make it black, 1 pixel. And this is totally fine, I think. Okay, so let's create the highlight. Duplicate the buttons main and let's call it buttons main matte, and again buttons main HL for highlight. Delete the mask, make the highlight, put it below the matte, set it to alpha matte, and of course remove the layer styles and set this to 40%, and this is our highlight. The X needs to be a bit bigger, I think, like so. And as you can see, we are almost finished, we're almost there. Let's save it and type type something unreal, like copying terabytes of information, and make this 30 or at least 28, and move this and type 15 seconds remaining, and set this to 22, put it right here, duplicate it, make the bottom copy white core, and apply a blur and sharpen fast blur, and turn off the reference, and let's blur it, and set the blending mode to add, and let's blur it more, like so. Put the reference image on top of everything, and now it's time to make this animation here. And since it's very strange, this is the only thing that I can't recreate 100%. So let's make another composition, and let's call it transfer animation. Create a new solid, and let's see, let's make it like 30% and probably 20, and these two 40, 45. It's okay. So this is our base. Let's apply a stroke. This will be 15% transparent. Come to effect, generate stroke, and let's duplicate the layer, remove the stroke from this layer, set this to 100% and set the stroke on transparent. This way it will only show up where it's stroke. So let's set this to 8, for example. Create another layer which is highlight or something like that, and let's make something like a highlight, and make this one bigger, and like so. Feather the masks and take the base and put it on top, set the opacity to 100% and set it to alpha matte, and set the highlight to 55%, and this is our one file. So let's pre-compose that and call it file. Make it a 3D layer, create a new object, make it a 3D layer again, make a camera, and let's move the file 300 pixels or 200 pixels to the left, and duplicate it and move it 400 pixels to the right, and of course we need to tweak the settings. The node is in the center, so if we come to a custom view and link those files to the node and rotate them, you will see that we have a rotating animation. So we need to rotate them in the y-axis. Set a keyframe for rotation. Let's come to the active camera. Set a keyframe. Move 4 seconds forward animate them a bit. Negative 65. Move 20 frames forward and again 4 seconds forward, and repeat this animation over and over. Again, and try to make it as close as possible. And I'm not going to waste a lot of time here because this is an easy process. Add a bit of a motion blur. Also turn on the depth of field of the camera, set the aperture to 75 and the blur level to 400, and set the focal distance so this part is always in focus, and set the blur to 250. And finally create a new no object for the camera, link the camera to the no objects and play with the rotation. We need a bit of an angle right here, and probably move the camera to the bottom a bit. Let's see, and play with the, I think this is okay. Another thing we need to apply is a adjustment layer and of course star glow to make them shine. So let's choose Code Heaven preset, and this is our preset here, and come to the main part and let's set our transfer animation. First of all, let's scale it down a bit and place it right here. So once it's scaled down and placed here, we need the top bar. So top bar, let's duplicate this and move it right here, and we are going to use the top bar as an alpha matte to reveal our animation. And we need to fix the shape a bit, but that's not a big problem. So as you can see, let's feather it a bit, like 2 pixels. This is our transfer animation right here. And finally we need to do one more final thing to make it look cool. And there are a couple of things. First of all, this icon here, the highlight. So let's start with the highlight. Come right here, duplicate the layer, and let's go with base highlight, and take the ellipse tool and like so move the ramp a bit. So we need a white core at the beginning of the ramp and a black core at the end of the ramp. And after that we are going to change the blending mode to screen, or add, maybe, no, screen. Set the opacity to 40% and actually duplicate the base one more time and use it as a alpha matte. And finally we need to delete the first mask. And finally, this is the effect that we have. Just need to reduce the opacity to 25%. And let's create the arrow on top. So arrow icon, remove this, and let's draw it real quick. This is our basic arrow. It doesn't have to be so perfect. And let's see, come to the X and copy the layer styles and paste them to the arrow. And obviously the stroke core is different, so we are going to change the stroke core, and the rest is okay, I think. Let's go this mini bar and take the ellipse rectangle, rounded rectangle tool, excuse me, and let's draw the shape. I think it's okay. Again, paste the same layer styles and change the stroke core to this core here. Duplicate this and remove the layer styles, and let's come to generate ramp and apply a ramp, for example like so. And you need to play with the cores, but since the tutorial went too long, I'm not going to waste your time doing that. And we need to cut this right here, so set it to intersect to cut the green bar. And let's see, we need to set the bar below the arrow, and just copy the bar and rename it to HL for highlight. Remove everything, remove the second mask, make it white core, and let's see, let's stretch it out and move it like so, and copy the bar again, set it on top, remove the second mask and use it as a alpha matte, and set the opacity to 40%, and this is our little highlight here. And another thing that we need to do to make it really look realistic is this white stroke here and this white stroke here. So let's see how we can do that. Oh, and of course a white stroke here around the buttons. So first of all, let's take the inner shadow layer, duplicate it, change the blending mode to normal, remove the layer styles, duplicate the mask, set it to subtract, hit MM to review the mask properties, and set the opacity to 50, and we are done. As you can see, it looks very cool. And the same thing we are going to do for the base. So this is the base line, for example, I don't know how to call it. Remove the ramp, make it white core, hit M, duplicate the mask, set this to subtract, and hit MM to review the mask property. And let's see. We need to set it to -1 and set the opacity to 50%. This way it looks really realistic. And again we are going to do the same thing here. So come to buttons main, let's find this layer, buttons main, yes, and remove the layer styles. First of all, duplicate the mask, set this to subtract, zoom in to see, and play with the settings. 1 pixel or 2 pixels, and of course we are going to duplicate this and remove all the masks and make a matte, because we don't want this stroke to appear on top of the black line. So we are going to draw a shape like so, use it as a alpha inverted matte, and set the opacity to 50%. Probably move it a bit, and I think we are done with this project. As you can see, it took me quite a bit of time to recreate it. Actually, the project took me around 4 hours or so, and I recreated it as close as possible for just 1 hour and 10 minutes in this tutorial. So hopefully this tutorial was useful for you and you learned new techniques, how to work with layer styles and mattes, and overall workflow with the tools I used today. So once again, I'm Stefan for a-plus.com, and we'll see you next time.